So was there like a particular topic, you know, perception? Because I remember I remember going to your room one time and you were talking about how this lady could see things, like she could see through the sidewalk because she controlled her perception so well that eventually she just lost it.
Mm,
And I think it's pretty cool that, our brains are that powerful that they can control the reality that we perceive too. So I guess I'm just kind of curious on, like, was there a particular topic or direction that gets you excited, or like what you're going to write your thesis on or study for your PhD? Um,
right. Yeah, I don't know. The hard thing is I feel like I'm still figuring out what my niche is,
hmm,
but what has kept me going is almost this weird mix of neuroscience and psychology tied into philosophy. So I felt like naturally I found myself really weirdly interested in these kind of um, theoretical and complex questions like what makes us us. And
oh,
yeah, and then it's hard because I was so interested in that, but I felt so naive because I'm like, how am I supposed to even go about these questions?
hmm,
And there's philosophers that'll write on and on and on about these questions. But I felt like what I was meant to do is really get into the lab. And I can't ask just as my thesis, what makes us us? I have to think of something super specific. And that's what got
right.
me to perception because you can think of perception as for example, vision, we're taking snapshots of the world, but that's not it at all. We're not really getting true reality. We're interpreting the world around us into how we perceive our own reality. And so I felt like perception and particularly event perception was kind of a doorway for me to investigate these philosophical questions. And so they're kind of very different, but they lean on each other in an interesting way.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, and kind of that philosophy, it's just, you'll never be able to answer that question in a philosophical manner. Like, what is love? What is that? Or, why are we alive, or something like that. But you can kind of go down and get even deeper into that question, start defining what those words mean, and then make a hypothesis about it, which is really
Right.
cool because then you can actually study it, which you're taking like this spiritual, philosophical area, and you're trying to make it come into science and combine the two,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
is really pretty cool.
Yeah. And I felt like I would be super overwhelmed with those questions as a kid
Mm,
too. And so now it's making me actually think about it. That's probably what made me lean more into science because it was really overwhelming thinking about these huge questions that are really important. But I felt like science could be a tool to investigate these questions and actually not answer them, but come up with potential solutions. And I don't know. I mean, philosophers are amazing and very impressive. I couldn't do what they do, but it just didn't seem like the solution for me, I guess.
okay, I gotcha. So I guess, kind of flipping it on its head, was there like a particular question that, or a particular like philosopher or a book that sparked your curiosity and kind of sparked that, what I guess that was the catalyst for you to go into neuroscience?
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like starting off there wasn't a particular question. I think if I were to come up with one, it would probably be something to do with how are we all experiencing the same things but not really experiencing the same
Hmm.
things. We're all experiencing the same things but we're not having the same experiences. And that always puzzled me because it's like even us right now, we're all kind of in the same conversation but we
Yeah.
have potentially different goals in mind, different thoughts, etc. And I think that leads into another big question that guided me is what's called the mind brain problem. So really
Hmm.
how much of it is your mind, which mind is kind of more of a philosophical aspect. So then there's the brain. So
Okay.
what does the brain do? And then what parts doesn't the brain do? What parts is left to the mind? And that's something that philosophers argue over on and on. But I felt like that was a really interesting question because I don't know. For me, I just sit there and I'm like, everyone is having such different experiences. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's a question that kind of is contained in that.